Unveiling the Divine Feminine, Botticelli's Primavera and the Birth of Venus. Part 1. Venus. In these two lectures about Sandro Botticelli, who lived from 1444 to 1510, and the meaning behind two of his best-loved paintings, I will be introducing you to the esoteric worldview which flourished in the early centuries CE in cultural centres such as Alexandria in Egypt, and was reborn in Renaissance Europe. In 15th century Florence, a group of intellectuals centred around the great Platonic philosopher Marsilio Ficino, who lived from 1433 to 99, instigated a revival of what was then called the ancient wisdom, now often referred to as the Western esoteric tradition, or the perennial wisdom. This tradition was believed to have originated with the Magus Zoroaster in ancient Persia, and passed down through Hermes Trismegistus in Egypt, Pythagoras in southern Italy, Orpheus in Thrace, and culminating in the Platonic Academy in Athens, with the teachings of the divine Plato, as Ficino called him. It was then transmitted via the Neoplatonists in the early centuries CE, taken up by Islamic culture after the establishment of Christianity, and became rediscovered in the early 1400s, mainly due to the patronage of the great Cosimo de' Medici in Florence. He sent for classical manuscripts from the Eastern Empire to be brought back to Italy, including lost dialogues of Plato, books of the Corpus Hermeticum, and many Neoplatonic texts, and he was so impressed by the wisdom he found there that he instructed the young Ficino to devote his life to translating them from Greek to Latin. This was not just a curious intellectual endeavour. Cosimo and Ficino knew that the universal wisdom contained in these manuscripts was of utmost importance for their contemporary society, and indeed for the spiritual health of humanity. Ficino, sponsored by the Medici family, including Cosimo's grandson, Lorenzo the Magnificent, founded the Platonic Academy of Florence, a group of humanists and intellectuals who were convinced that this ancient wisdom could revitalize a Christianity that had become overly doctrinal and authoritarian. Their aim was to marry philosophy and religion, to show that Christianity was an expression of a universal religious truth about the divinity and immortality of the human soul, and that we could achieve this realization through following the teachings of the great sages of the past. Despite the lack of explicit written evidence, there is no doubt in my mind that Ficino and his academy influenced Botticelli and provided an agenda for his 4 pagan paintings. So I want to spend some time exploring with you what we mean by a symbolic image in the esoteric sense, because unless we grasp this, Botticelli's paintings will not reveal their secrets. Nothing is so characteristic of Pythagorean philosophy as the symbolic, a type of instruction compounded of speed and silence, as in a mystery initiation, says the last great Neoplatonist Proclus. And this tells us that there is something about symbolic perception which has deep spiritual significance. The ancient wisdom combined head and heart knowledge, if you like, and it contained an understanding that the human soul could raise its consciousness to a realization of its innate spiritual identity through a process of initiation.